there, boys and girls. This is Chris Reardon welcoming you to today's United Kingdom talk. And quite honestly, I am shocked and horrified today. Shocked and horrified to find out that one of our regular listeners and viewers to United Kingdom talk, someone who now does his own podcast. And no, it's not Joe from AmericanTalkUSA.com. We are talking Ross P. Now, Ross P. from Norwich, which is in the east of the country. Today, I do believe, for the very first time, just about an hour ago, I finished setting up a little webcam on the computer downstairs to do MSN. And you know the MSN Messenger, a webcam, a little camera, so that they can see me. That it's like video telephones, okay? Just explaining for Joy and accent. Hello, Joy. Now, I have to tell you, Joy's not been too well, have you, my darling? Bit of trouble with the old ticker. Well, I reckon, Joy, you should completely do away with the heart that you've got and have a new artificial one put in, dear. There must be an artificial heart somewhere for Joy in Acton. That's what you want, dear. None of this mucking about. Joy's had a little bit of an operation, haven't you, my darling? And she is now at home recuperating. She is not reconstituting, dear. Recuperating. I believe that's the word. Is that the correct word? I don't know, recuperating. She's recuperating from her little operation. So I hope you're better now, Joy. Anyway, I'm setting up this webcam downstairs, mainly so that I can talk to my little nephew, Jimmy, who's 11, and he loves the computer and the webcam and everything, and we do quite mad things to each other. If you imagine an 11-year-old boy at the end of the webcam, what sort of things would you think he'd do? Yes, you're right. They sit there, they make faces, they pull strange faces and make strange noises, and all that sort of business. And of course, I'm the perfect person to have at the other end of the camera when you're doing that sort of thing, because I too am stuck with the brain of an 11-year-old child. You do know that, don't you? I am stuck with the brain of an 11-year-old child. So I've been trying to set that up today. And while I was on there, I did notice my good friend, Ross P. from Norwich, live from Norwich. Da-da-da. Oh, hang on. We got a bit of Norwich music, I think. Hang on a minute. Have we got the... let me find that. Yes, I have it here. So what you see, we have here in the UK... Not now, but years ago, ITV, which is one of the TV channels, was split up into different regions of the country. And each region of the country had its own kind of mini TV station, which became networked at different types of the day. Now, what do you call that in the States? Is it network? It's not networking, is it? Is it syndicate? I don't know. You know, so there's all these little stations, and at certain times they all hooked up, and at other times they did their own thing. Well, now that's all changed now here in the UK, and ITV is just one big channel with the occasional news programme. It's all very sad, and for me it's a shame of times gone by, and I wish I could turn the clock back, but of course you can't. Anyway, each TV station had their own little logo, and most of them, not all of them, had their own little jingle. And when I mention people in different parts of the UK, I often look up on my massive computer database of tunes here in the Royal Berkshire Mirable Studios. I do look on there to see if I can find your little jingle, and I've found Ross P. from Norwich. Oh, yes. Anyway, back to the story. So I hit Ross P on his messenger thing, and up it popped, and there he was. I then hit the video calling thing to test my camera. Well, first of all, I mean, it's not so simple anymore, is it? It used to be, well, you'd hit the person on the messenger, and almost instantly the face would would appear. Now you have to go through all these adverts and all this. I can't remember that. I think they were actually advertising another webcam this time, but eventually it passed, and then up popped Ross P, semi-naked. I nearly died, boys and girls. I nearly died. He was topless while talking to me, an international celebrity, an award-winning DJ, landlord, global broadcaster, environmental conservationist, master of merriment, pilot, connector, and of course, your fairy godmother. He was half naked, boys and girls. He had no top on. And I said to him, is by any chance your girlfriend out at the moment? He said, that's right. And he started laughing. I said, will you put a top on immediately? I mean, I'm not being funny, dears. Some people you don't mind looking at. Other people, you know what I mean? But he didn't. He just carried on chatting away there with no top on. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my life. I mean, I had to peer closely and I did notice I think there were 2 chest hairs on there. Mind you, I've got none of those myself. I never got hairy. I haven't even got hairy legs. Look, hang on a minute. Let me just put my leg up. Let's see. Look, no hairs. Look, 45 years old, and there's hardly any little hairs on my leg. Oh, is that a varicose vein? I've got a varicose vein. It's getting worse and worse, isn't it? It's getting worse and worse. There's a varicose vein there. So I was rather shocked by that sight to see Ross P sitting there at his webcam with no top on while his girlfriend's out. Why on earth he'd want to talk to me with no top on? I have no idea at all. I don't know if I'm going to have time to tell you all these stories. I'm not actually, but I did bump into someone. Oh, it was absolutely gorgeous this weekend. Last weekend, rather. So gorgeous. And it's somewhere where you wouldn't expect usually to bump into someone of such gorgeousness. So I'll save that story perhaps for, maybe another show. I haven't really got time to tell you that. Because I have also been shopping. Boys and girls. Downstairs, my computer. Do you remember I told you I was going to give my very old computer away to my niece, Tracy? Can I just clear my throat? My niece, Tracy. Now, I checked with her and she doesn't have a keyboard or a mouse or a computer screen or anything at all. So I've gone and bought myself, I ordered from Dabs, dabs.com. Now, I give them a mention because I'm so impressed with the service. It's always the same. With dabs.com, you order something, it's here within 24 hours. I couldn't believe it. I ordered one of those flat screen wide things. Very good price, I think it was £92. I'm not quite sure. Would it be a 15-inch one? It's not huge, but nevertheless, it is a wide screen one. And I ordered that on Wednesday, okay, around about 4:30 in the afternoon, okay? And it arrived on Thursday at 2:30 in the afternoon. You can't do fairer than that, can you? So very, very impressed with the service here in the UK from Dabs, dabs.com. Very impressed at all. So I went shopping there, a new monitor, and the new monitor also has speakers on it as well, which is marvellous. I didn't realise they did monitors with speakers on. What I had before was the computer downstairs and it was connected to the hi-fi. The speakers were connected to the hi-fi, which is, of course, a far superior sound, but I don't really need that on that computer downstairs. So I got a monitor with speakers in and they just plugs into the computer. And now it's all worked off like while I'm sitting on the settee, the computer is to the left of me. Always computer in every room in this house, dear. I mean, they're not the best spec one. The one in here is quite a good spec now that I'm doing the video on. But downstairs, it's about 3 or 4 years old, that computer now. And now, instead of having to get up whenever I wanted to put the sound on by putting the hi-fi on the other side of the living room, now I just push the button on the monitor and hey presto, sound comes oozing out, which I can't hear at the moment because my ear, I still haven't been to the doctor to sort my ear out, and I'm pretty sure there's an infection in there now because even just by touching I'm feeling pain. Okay, just by doing that. It's not too bad at the moment, but I've got a feeling this is going to get worse, and I really, really need to go to the doctors. It's finding a time to do all these things, isn't it? I've got a car service tomorrow as well, right? Got car service tomorrow. Now, there's the story. Here's the car. I've got so much to tell you here. Now, which bit do you want to hear first? That's the trouble. No, well, hang on to that for a minute. Because I have been shopping. I bought lots today. Look. Now, if you're watching the show, and I hope the video's going to work this time, you may notice that we've actually sorted the lighting out at last. No longer am I green or pink. right? Because it's in my bag in front of me. I have bought daylight bulbs. Hang on a minute. Oh, that's a bit. There you are. I have bought daylight bulbs. Now these are special bulbs that are blue in appearance. There we are. I don't know if you can see the fact that... Oh, you can, can't you? They are like normal blue... They're like normal light bulbs, but they've like got a blue tint around the glass. And these are called daylight bulbs. And it says on the instructions... A very good friend of mine, Ben, who does karaoke, he actually took over the karaoke from me when I left that place in Camden back in last September. I can't believe it's a year. It's a year since I left that place. A year. I was there 18 years, a whole year since I left that, and I got my free packet of biscuits. Do you remember that? Oh, don't start me on that again, dear. We haven't got time. Anyway, it says home-based daylight bulbs are specially manufactured to simulate natural daylight for true colour matching, suitable for use in most art and craft work. And I think this is a piece of art, don't you, that I'm doing now? And it appears to have worked. No longer is my face pink or... What was the other colour it was? It was slightly green at one point, wasn't it? So I'm quite pleased about that. And for the sake... only about £2 to buy these. You see? Now, remember that if anyone else is doing little webcam shows or anything like that, before you go out and spend £200 or £300, you know, $400 or $500 on special video lighting and all that business, this cost me about £2.50. Hang on, just wait for you to be able to see that. There we are. That cost me £2.50. All right, remember that before you go and spend all that money. What else have I bought today? I've decided, earlier today, I thought the garden needs some bulbs. Now, not these sort of bulbs, obviously, but bulbs. And I have bought for the garden, because now is, if you're in the UK, now is the time to get those bulbs in the ground, my darling. Don't leave it another 6 weeks, because then they won't have the energy to push their little heads up out of the earth. All right, I've got crocuses. Look, crocuses. I've got crocuses. I've got, I don't know what these are. Was it allium? Allium. Allium. Yeah, got those. All different ones here. We have, of course, got my mother's favourite flower, I think these were. Daffodils. Mixed selection of those. And I've got, hyacinth. You can't beat the smell of hyacinths, can you? Eh? What else have I got here? And these, I quite like the look of these. Parrot tulips. Okay, parrot tulips. And Sainsbury's Homebase are doing a special offer on these. You get 3 packs of bulbs like that for £10. Which, you know, I'm looking for value for money always. And I think, I actually think that's particularly good value for money there. So let me just put those down to the side there. So that's my new bulbs. And put that bulb in there. Oh, I forgot to put this back on the wall. I've got the wig still here from the last show. Look, there we are. I've still got the wig on. Can I just put this on the wall before I forget? Oh, hang on. I've run out of space. I've put some other stuff behind me on the shelf. 1 minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. Put that there. Oh, I missed that. Oh, it's all fallen down now. Hang on. That's it. Always have your gun stapler to hand, dear. There we are. There we are. Put that back up there. Oh, it won't stay up now. 1 minute. There we are. Is that it? Got a few bits and pieces behind us on the wall there. So that's it. So I have been shopping. Pet news. Now, you're probably wondering what's happened to my cat, Tiny. Okay? Well, indeed, last week, as I told you, I took her to the vet. Very nice vet I go to, just down the road here in Bracknell. And took her in. And honestly, as I was going into the vet, outside was standing this blooming great big Dane dog. Now, don't get me wrong, lovely dogs, but this thing was barking its head off at everyone that walks past. And quite frankly, the woman who had the dog, she didn't seem to be in control at all. It does annoy me, that does. Because it's not the pet's fault. This dog has obviously been trained to bark at everyone that goes past. And this stupid woman was having trouble controlling it. I thought, well, any minute now. Of course, I'm walking past this dog with my little cat in her box. Poor old soul she is, dear. Anyway, so I took her into the vet. I also noticed when I put her in her little box, that there was a smell coming from her, so I wasn't quite sure what that was. So quickly I went in to the vet. They're very good at keeping appointments there. You know, if you're booked in, I think I was booked in for 11 o'clock in the morning. If you're booked in for 11 o'clock in the morning, you're generally in there by 10 past 11. So they called me in, and very nice vet, as I say, put Tiny on the table. As soon as I open the door, she like comes wobbling out, bless her heart. And he said, "What's the problem?" I says, "Well, I've noticed she's been limping a bit lately, and if you look at her paw, I think the claws are crossing over." So he took one look. He says, "Oh no," he said, "I know what's happened there. The claw had actually grown into the pad." Now, what it is, because Tiny is so old now, she doesn't clean herself. I never ever see her licking herself now, because they can't get round. The other thing she doesn't do anymore is scratch. You know when you see a cat and they start scratching at trees and walls and that sort of thing? Well, she doesn't do any of that. And apparently that means the claws just keep growing, and they kind of grow around in a curve. So you've got the cat's pad there, and the claw grows like that, and it's grown around her pad and was now in the bottom of her pad there. So he says, "Oh yes, so I'll have to cut those." I said, "I noticed she's got a smell as well, and also I need you to shave the back of her, because where her back legs are, the fur was all matted." It's funny, you know, it seems to be, it doesn't matter how careful you are continuing to brush your long-haired cats all the time, it's still, the fur still mats up. I'm not quite sure why that is. On the other hand, because she's so thin and skinny and bony at the moment, I kind of worry a little bit to push the brush too hard, and it would hurt her, you know. So he said, "Well, we'll have to sort that out. You'll have to leave her here for a couple of hours while we do that. But let's try and sort out the claws now." So he says, if you hold her down, you might need to hold her for this, because it might hurt her while I just cut the ones that are in her paw. So I says, "Okay." So I'm, talking. You know how you talk to your cat, don't you? I mean, on the way to the vet, in the car, while she's in her little box, I'm putting my finger through there, and she's like rubbing her little head up and down on my finger to say, "It's all right, Tiny, we'll sort you out," and all that business. So I held her down, and he got these, they were like large nail, well, they just looked like nail clippers to me. So he carefully got her paw and started snipping away. And I've never heard her make so much noise. My cat, she was screaming. She was screaming the vets down. I'm so embarrassed. I said, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry. I've never heard her do that before." He said, "No," he says, "that's all right. This will be hurting her while I do this, but it'll only take half a minute or so." So very quickly, actually, he cut the first one he cut was the one that was growing into her paw, into the pad at the bottom of her paw. So he cut that and pulled it out, and straight away you could see that the area was all red raw and had become infected. Now, why on earth I didn't notice this, I don't know. Well, it was underneath, I suppose. All I thought was that the two claws were crossing over. I said, "Oh, I should have noticed that." He says, "Oh, don't worry, it's not something that you would look for." But I also noticed that's where the smell was coming from, the infection. So really, I'll remember that next time. If the cat smells a bit funny, then I'll know. I mean, you know the difference between, shall we say, if the cat's just gone to the toilet and an infection. There's a huge difference in the smell there. And this just didn't smell right. So he did that one, and then he did all the others on that particular paw. But she was screaming the place down. I didn't realise she was capable of such noise. I mean, I've got to be honest. There's been a couple of occasions, only happened twice, where the other cat, Katie, the younger one, there's where she tends to run under your feet. And there's been two occasions where I've stepped on her and she really screams. With this one, I'd never heard her make so much noise. Row! Like she'd go, "Ow!" Really loud. So that was the first paw. Now, the other three paws, he says, "I expect I'll have to cut the other nails as well." And as he said, "Yeah, we'll have to do these ones as well." But the other three didn't seem to bother her. So it was clearly that particular paw that was giving her a problem, and that was the one that was hurting her when he was cutting her nails. Anyway, of course, while he was doing it, she was obviously quite frightened, because then she done a little wee on the top of the vet's table thing where they examine the animals there. So that was that, and when he finished that, he said that he would give me some pills for her later on, some antibiotics, which I will have to give her. And that was it, really. He said, right, well, if you leave her with us, if you just sign this form here, and we'll get the fur trimmed for you, and come back about, we'll give us a ring about 2 o'clock, and you should be able to pick her up later. So I then came back. That's when I went to the garage. Do you remember I told you in the last show? Well, not garage. I went to Halford's and got a couple of light bulbs and changed those in the car. Come back, had something to eat, went swimming, and by then it was about 2:30, so I rung up the vet. I said, is Tiny ready yet? She said, oh, yes, you can come and pick her up now. So I went and picked up the cat, and she was fine, and they'd shaved all the back of her legs. And I tell you what, cats have got really small legs. A lot of it is fur. She's not got a lot, well, mind you, it might be her age again. She looked like she had chicken legs, bless her. You know when you see the chickens, that last bit, the skinny bit at the bottom between, I suppose, the knee and the foot of the chicken, her legs are like that. Poor old thing. But she was all sorted, and she came back. As soon as she got back here, I let her out the cage, and she wandered back in, and she's fine. She's as right as rain. But the vet also, I've got to go back next Wednesday to check up on the foot, and with the antibiotics. Now, the other cat I have, Katie, she's had antibiotics before. And she was quite easy to give them. You kind of put your 2 fingers in her mouth like that. Like that, right? And she would open her mouth, right? And he literally dropped the pill in, and she'd swallow it. No problem at all. But not with Tiny. Couldn't get her to open her mouth. But they did say to put the antibiotic tablet with her food, and she would probably eat it like that. Now, the thing is with Tiny, she is a very, very fussy eater. There's so many occasions I've put down some cat food and she'd take a mouthful and she'll walk off. But I do know from experience that she does like normal human food. She never leaves any of that. If I have a bit of ham left over, or maybe a bit of chicken, or even fish, anything like that that I have been eating for my dinner, if I put down any leftovers from her, she will eat the whole lot. The whole lot. So I thought, hang on a minute. You know, the vet has also told me she was quite underweight. He said it could be her age, could be something else. I'm pretty sure it's because she keeps walking away from her food. So I've taken a decision now to no longer buy her cat food. I'm going to buy her the same food that I have. So I've got a couple of... So I opened, as soon as I got back, I opened a can of ham. And I chopped it up and put it in the bowl. What did I do now? Oh, no, that's right. What I did, I opened a tin of ham. I chopped just a couple of very small bits off, and I crushed the because she wouldn't take the tablet. I couldn't get her mouth open. And she got. It doesn't matter how old they are, they've still got a blooming strong bite. I tell you that now. Cool, it hurt my finger. So I crushed up half. You have to give her half a tablet twice a day. So I crushed this tablet and put it within like 2 or 3 pieces of ham that had come out of chopped up from the tin, and I put that down. Well, she scoffed that lot straight away. So, you know, I knew from then on, right, from now on, you can eat the same food as me, or at least, you know, human food, because she obviously doesn't like the cat food. And it doesn't matter what, I've tried so many different brands, she doesn't like the cat food. So from now on, I'll give her the same sort of food as humans have. So after she had that, because I wanted to make sure that she ate all that, so she ate all that, of course, with the antibiotic tablet as well that had been crushed up in it. Then I chopped up some more and put it all down for her. So now... that's what she's eating. And today, actually, I've been up to the supermarket and I bought cans of corned beef. I bought another one of ham. I bought some tuna steaks, tuna chunks in a tin. And I also bought, on my sister's advice, some diced turkey, which for some inexplicable reason is a lot cheaper than chicken. All right, so I bought some diced turkey, which I'll have to... I think I have to boil that. I've got to ring up my sister and ask her what to do with that, because I'm not quite sure. And so she will now eat like a princess, and hopefully she'll put on the weight that she's lost. And besides, it's a bit pointless, really, anyway, buying cat food and then having to chuck half of it away because they don't eat it. It's stupid, isn't it? Stupid. The other cat, on the other hand, doesn't eat any meat at all. She's quite happy. All she eats is dried biscuits. I've put down cat food for her. She doesn't go anywhere near it. Funny, isn't it? Have you got fussy cats? What do they eat? Tell me. And you see, I do appear to be turning into my mother here because Mum had a dog called Max. Max and I didn't get on. For whatever reason, we didn't get on. It was a spaniel. And she absolutely adored this dog, as did my dad. And she used to cook for the dog. There's many occasions I'd go round there and Mum would be cooking a pork chop or a piece of chicken for the dog. And then she'd give that to the dog, and then she'd sit down with a salad or a bowl of soup herself. And I seem to be doing that myself now. So in future I should be cooking for my cats. Besides, I actually quite like cooking for people. You know? I'm not the best chef in the world, but the occasion of actually doing it doesn't come up very often. Let me just adjust myself here because I'm not comfortable. There we are. You know, I don't get the thing to cook. I'd love to be able to cook one day for my nieces and nephews. I've never cooked for them before. Maybe if they come round here at some point, maybe when they're a bit older. But I do quite like to cook for people. So at least now I'm cooking for the cat. Will she appreciate it? Of course she will. Of course she'll appreciate it. Will she come round me for any more cuddles? Probably not. But I don't care. It's what's the word? Is it unequivocal love? What's that called? When you don't love someone to expect anything back. What's that called? Oh, something love. Undeniable love. Oh, I don't know what it is. Anyway, we love our pets. Do you cook for your pet? Or do you give them cat food or other food? Do your cats or dogs or whatever you've got, rabbits, I don't know what you've got, guinea pigs? Have you got a pet and do you treat it special with food or do you give it the canned stuff? Do let me know. There's an email address to the show and that is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. What do your pets eat? Do you cook for them yourself? And if so, what do they have? When you do, perhaps you're a person on your own. When you do your own dinner, do you do extra so that your cat or dog can share with you the delights of your culinary cooking? Let me know by email, okay? chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. There is also a postal address of the show, which I haven't given out for some time, so I shall be giving that out in the next couple of minutes. I can't see. I usually got it written up there somewhere. I can't find it. I'd love to do that by memory, so go and get yourself a pen. I can just see myself sitting there cooking chicken for myself, or a piece of fish, or chicken, or something for the cat, rather. Then chopping it up, putting it down, she'd be eating it, and then I'll get a tomato out of the fridge for myself. You can't do it, can you? Anyway, let's go on to some emails then. I haven't got time to tell you the story, really, of this gorgeous bloke that I bumped into on Saturday. Or unfortunately, he wasn't interested because he did have a girlfriend, but there you are. You can't win them all, dear. I did actually get a chance to sit next to him for about 45 minutes. But how did this happen? I can hear you asking yourself, what sort of situation did you bump into someone that you quite liked? I'm not going to, we're going to have to save it for the next show because there isn't time, my dears. We must move on now to email. You see, I'm hooking you in again, aren't I? I'm hooking you in. Right, let's go to the emails. First of all, the last part of the email that came from Monica, who's recently been on a world tour of Italy and Scotland. And she sent some beautiful pictures in, Monica, I must say. My favourite pictures were the ones that you sent in of the sea and the lake as well. Just absolutely stunning. Anyway, Monica goes on to say, the last half of her email, unfortunately, while we were in Scotland, we heard about the terrible accident at Madrid airport yesterday. That was quite shocking, that, wasn't it? It's the trouble, on a plane, you see, you are supposed to be much safer on a plane. But it seems to me when something does go wrong with planes, no one gets out. or very few people get out, and it's just that's a worry. It's a tragedy, she says, so many people dying on the runway. The aircraft was the very model I usually fly on when I go to Rome, and I can't help feeling identified with all those people who were flying to the Canary Islands to enjoy their holidays. Now, I've been to the Canary Islands 3 times, not the last couple of years. It's a lovely place, actually, isn't it? But the only thing is, whatever supermarket, I went in to do shopping and that, you know, because I like to go self-catering on holiday quite often. And it's nothing to do with saving money before you say anything like that. If you don't mind, my dears, it's to do with not being able to eat the local food. Although it's exactly the same as ours over there, to be honest. But couldn't find a decent loaf of bread in the Canary Islands. I think what I'm going to have to do in future, when I go on a holiday somewhere, is take my bread machine with me. It's the only way, isn't it? I'll have to take some bread, some flour, some sugar, some dried yeast, my milk powder, or what's the other thing? There's something else, and salt. That's all you need in bread, isn't it, eh? Oh, oil. Extra virgin olive oil. We don't use any cheap old trash, dear. Extra virgin olive oil. That's all I use now, dear. She says, don't want this email to end up so sadly, though. So there goes so sadly, she says, so there goes a funny antidote. I bought some constipation relief tablets from a chemist's while I was there. Oh, man, we're not going to have details here, are we, dear? Oh, my God. I've seen a picture of you, Monica, and I'm having visions for some reason in my head at the moment of you sitting on a toilet pushing and having trouble. Oh, it's made me feel ill. She says, I bought some constipation relief tablets from the chemist while I was there, and it said the dosage was a tablet. It was a Senna chocolate bar to be chewed before bedtime. What, before bedtime you're having that stuff? Oh, I don't think that's a good idea, dear. I mean, you know, in your sleep, doesn't bear thinking about, does it? I started chewing it, and by the time I'd eaten almost all of it, my eye was caught by a legend on the box. It said it contains 12 tablets. I had mistaken one tablet for the whole bar and eaten 10 times the recommended dosage. Oh, the mess, dear. I turned to my friend and told her, bad news, my dear. You can imagine how worried I was about what might happen. She says, in fact, I woke up in the middle of the night. Oh, I don't think I can carry on reading this, dear. I think we're going to have to stop that email right there. She says, I woke up in the middle of the night, and she says, I leave the rest to your imagination. I didn't sleep much that night, and the day after I had to pull myself together and try and make the most out of the day, for we still had to visit the castle, go up Arthur's Seat, etc. What did you do, dear? Wear a nappy? I'm attaching a few pictures taken over there, which thank you very much for those. As I say, my favourite 2 pictures you sent there, one of the sea and indeed one of the lake. I'll be catching up your shows. Lots of love from Monica. So thank you for that, Monica. Thank you ever so much for keeping in contact. It's always nice to hear from people sometimes. And it's the horrible thing about doing jobs, the sort of things that I do, for example, DJing, or indeed even this programme, is that people disappear. You know? People do disappear. There are people who used to email into the show and you don't hear from them again. And you kind of wonder what's happened. I suppose most of them, their tastes might have changed, so they've gone elsewhere, which is okay. But sometimes I do worry about them. Do you remember a few months ago I told you I was trying to find my friend Richard? Well, I'm afraid I never found him. Someone indeed told me that he had killed himself a few years ago, but I've never found any proof of that. On the other hand, I never knew where he lived. He was just like kind of a fairly close friend who used to come into the DJ box in the place in Camden I used to work, and he would stand by me all night long, and he just disappeared suddenly. And I've never really quite sure what happened to him. I need some proof there, you know. Shall I give you the postal address now? Okay, if you want to put anything in an envelope and send it to me, sit there, type away a letter. Maybe you're listening to this programme in one of the hospitals that play it out. I hope you're feeling better if you're in that hospital. Shouldn't be too long for you now, my darlings. The postal address is Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG 429ED. Once again, it's Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG 429ED, United Kingdom. All right, there you go. On we go then. Emails here from our friend in Iceland. I got three emails from Robert in Iceland, actually. First of all, hi Chris and friends of United Kingdom Talk. Now, we're talking about upgrading computers a little while ago. And I mentioned that Carl in Yorkshire had suggested I upgrade my old computer before I bought the new one that I'm using to record the video stuff on now. And I'm really not happy doing that. A lot of people say it's as easy as plug and play, i.e., I mean, if you've ever opened a computer, you'll know what I mean. It's a bit like a Lego kit, really. It's just bits and pieces that are plugged together, and that's it. Getting them all to work together, in my opinion, is another thing altogether. It can be quite difficult, and that's what put me off. That's why I bought a new one. Anyway, Robert says, upgrading computers. I have been down this path a few times. In fact, it was only last week that I found myself helping my brother-in-law with his upgrade. Alas, it is often not just the motherboard and processor that needs to be done. Depending on the old board, you may need a new ATX power supply. Oh, I know that. I've actually managed to change one of those myself once in a computer. Oh, yes, I diagnosed a fault very well. I know when I switched it on, there was nothing. It came on and went, and that was the end of that. Nothing. And I knew it. Something told me it was the power supply, dear. Depending upon the old board, you may need a new power supply, and just double check the memory too. Sometimes you know it is a better option to take advantage of computer stores and buy a complete new unit, because you are leaving yourself open to all sorts of problems with warranties, etc. when you do the task yourself. And say you do save some money, then mixing old with new can stress the old items, and then into the world comes the worst thing ever, the intermittent fault. Now, I don't know about you, but in my time here on this planet so far, I too have experienced a couple of times on different pieces of electrical equipment the intermittent fault. The worst places that this can possibly be are, in my opinion, are 1, computers, and 2, cars. Now, I did have a problem with my car on Saturday, okay? I haven't got time to tell you about it on this particular show. Hopefully, I'll be able to tell you about that on the next show. But I completely see what you're saying there, Robert. The intermittent fault, he says, the kind we all love. He says, nah, save yourself the hassle, my good friend, and get a new box. This relatively simple equals difficult to fix. And indeed, that's what I did, Robert. I've got a nice computer now that I'm doing all the video stuff on. He also wrote in to say, I just wanted to share with you all a wonderful day yesterday, and to put rest the idea that we Icelanders love killing whales. Okay. After collecting my wife from work, we returned home along the road which runs alongside the fjord. We noticed a number of people parked by the side of the road. So, of course, we did the same to see what all the fuss was about. Well, we all do that, don't we? We have to know what's going on, don't we? I always remember once, years and years ago, we noticed there was some police outside our flat in Roehampton. Not outside our flat, but a little bit down the road. And we called our dad, "Dad, there's policemen down there." And he says, Where? And Dad, he said, "Right, I'm going down to see what it's all about." He put his coat on and went and nosed around. And Dad always had to know what was going on. Breaking the surface of the fjord, just a few metres or yards away from the shore, 2 large northern bottle-nosed whales were at play. It was fantastic to see them splashing around like a couple of kids putting on a show. And yes, they knew they had an audience, and boy, did they know how to work one. Yeah, you do wonder that sometimes. Animals know when you're watching, you know. I'm sure they do. So thanks very much for those pictures. Beautiful pictures there of the bottlenose whales. They're quite long, aren't they? The noses are quite long on there. He also says, on the subject of flying and safety, in light of the recent tragic accident in Spain, one might be more concerned about flying. Now, Bob says, don't be. These things happen, and yes, will continue to happen, and our thoughts and prayers are, of course, with the families that will forever see the world now differently. My advice to those afraid of flying is to spend a day at the airport and just count the number of planes coming in and going out. You will soon start to see that it's just a normal way to get around. If you are afraid of flying, and let me tell you that most of the pilots that I know of are some of the most cautious people around, then please book yourself onto a fear of flying course. A lot of airports have them now. Don't ruin your trip, but rather turn it into a pleasure, because you can do it. And he's got a flying joke here. 2 caterpillars were walking along a leaf when they saw a butterfly flying in the warm breeze. One caterpillar turned to the other and said, "Nice, but you were not going to get me up there on one of those things." Was that funny? I don't know. I'm not very good with jokes at all, Bob. Thank you for those. Someone, actually, one of the people at work I work with, one of the bar staff, he keeps sending me jokes by text message, and I've had enough. Please stop sending me text message jokes. Oh, we're always talking about text messages. I'm not keen at all on text messages. And I had one the other day. "Hi, Chris, are you working in so-and-so tonight?" And I thought, I don't even know who this is. Why don't you see? So the name doesn't always come up, does it? So I don't bother responding now, because you get into that whole thing. Who are you? And then they say, "Don't you know?" And then you say, "No," and it's guess. And I really can't be bothered with it all. Really can't be bothered with it all. One more email from Robert is an Icelandic thought, or an Icelandic thought. It's a bit like, almost like poetry. This is quite nice. "I used the messengers of nature to define her clock, and for me, the massing and then departure of the huge flocks of geese are such a sign. These last few days, I have seen such large flocks, and soon, one of these mornings, the skies will be silent, and our visitors will have left on the journey to their winter homes to await the passing of another year and the promise of one more summer to come. For it will be the sight of the geese in the fields and swans upon the lakes that will awaken the land again, and in so doing herald the start of warmer days. Some of our swans leave Iceland for England. So when upon your travels this winter, you may spy a swan with a faraway look in his eyes. Yes, it will have been remembering long summer days beneath the midnight sun. Yes, the wows in a field were a delight and a moment to savour as our neighbours of the North Atlantic came for a while to play and have now returned to the winter home, the deep ocean. What a lovely piece you write there. Thanks very much for all those emails there, Bob the Viking. And one of the things that I would love to do is see the midnight sun. That is on my must-do things. I would love to be able to see the midnight sun, a place where it doesn't set. And I'm assuming by your email here that that happens in Iceland. Do you have them? I know it happens in Norway, and I believe Sweden as well. But do you get the midnight sun in Iceland? And if so, when? When is a good time to be able to see that? Thanks again for that, Bob. Lovely bit of writing there for you. Now, Carl in Yorkshire is helping again, is helping young Catherine, who's had problems watching the video because she says it keeps stopping. And Carl says, if you download and install Real Player Basic, now remember that if you haven't got Real Player, then there is a basic free version. Do not pay if you don't have to. And once again, as in quite a lot of computer things, okay, there's quite a lot of computer things that are free and you don't have to pay for them. Real Player is one of them. He said, download and install the Real Player Basic, not the paid for version, a free one. Then you can right click on any YouTube video and have the software download the whole video for you. This may or may not be quicker than just waiting for it to load while paused, but at least it's another idea. So thanks for that, Carl. I have a little addition to that. If you use Firefox, okay, if you use Firefox as your browser, I'm afraid at the moment there's no Real Player plugin for you to be able to download pictures on YouTube. That's the latest version of Firefox. I think it's number 3. You can't, once you upgrade to that, you can no longer download. They're still waiting for a Real Player plugin for that, okay? Right, on we go. Let's give you the email address once again. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Gotta say hello to Stephen, who we haven't heard from for a long time. Hello, Steve, who's in Hants, here in the UK, Gosport, who says, hi, Chris. I was listening to you talking about wanting to present talk radio full-time. He says there's an internet radio station, which you probably know, Play Radio UK. They seem to be expanding their commitment to talk. Yeah, I've noticed this already. They have now Mike Mendoza, James Well, and occasionally Tommy Boyd, among others. They show the programmes on Webcam as well. Why don't you apply, Chris? I know you have a problem pushing yourself forward, but go for it. In my opinion, you'd do well there. So thanks very much for that, Steve, to tell me that. If you go online and he tells me where to find it. Best of luck from Steve, Gosport Hands. I'm actually ahead of you there, Steve. I have already contacted the said station. And rather unusually, I have to say this, rather unusually, let me just, I may not find this now. He's just scrolling quickly. No, I've kind of put that away somewhere. Hang on, is that it there? Nope, that's not it. Should have printed that off earlier, really, shouldn't I? No, sorry. I can't find that. But rather unusually for a radio station, they actually responded to me and they said thanks very much for writing to them. They are expanding at the moment and there may well be room for a show like mine and they would be in contact in the near future. So fingers crossed there, and that might happen. Thanks for pointing that out for me, Steve. Hello to Richie. New person. Hello, Richie. And he says, hello, Chris. My name's Richard and I'm in Northampton. I've been listening to the show for the past few months and I've just listened to the Saturday the 23rd of August show and I heard about Louise wrestling with her cardboard juice bottles to get the ring pull off. Yeah, it's that old story about buying pre-packaged food, I'm afraid, from supermarkets and finding you can't actually get in the damn thing. How many times has that happened? He says, I have a glass of orange juice every morning with my breakfast. And I used to find that I had great problems with pulling off the ring pulls and had to wrestle with them and usually ended up throwing it all over me in the kitchen. But a few weeks ago, I bought the same type of orange juice as I always have from Tesco. He buys a Tesco's own, but found that instead of using a ring pull, they are now using a twist-off top, which now means I can enjoy my orange juice in the morning without getting coated in it at the same time. It suggests to me that there must have been some great complaints from people like me and Louise who struggle with our juice bottles, and that they have answered our pleas and given us from hassle-free lids. Thank God for that. So to answer Louise's problem, she should try and look out for the bottles with the twist tops on them, because I've found them to be a godsend. Keep up the good work, and can't wait to get home from tomorrow to catch up with your shows on the website. Keep up the good work. Your fond listener, Richard. Thank you very much for that, Richard in Northampton. Now, there's a place I've never been to Northampton, actually, Richard. I've driven past it on the... Is it the A1M or the M1 when I've been on my way to my sister's place in Lincolnshire? So I've been past... Oh, no, M1. Let me think. No, it was M1, wasn't it? And I was on my way to Leeds, if I remember rightly. I've done a couple of jobs in Leeds. That was last year. Blimey, that's over a year ago I did that. Blimey, how the time passes. You know, it's funny, but quite often when you realise how quickly time is passing you by, and I've been doing this quite a lot recently, you suddenly think to yourself, why do you bother doing things, certain things in your life that you don't really want to do? Certain jobs I've done throughout the years, and some of them I haven't particularly enjoyed doing. And you kind of sit there when, like I've just said, a year's gone like that. And you think to yourself, why are you doing things that you don't really like? What's the point of that? Even if it makes money for you, why? Why are you doing something that makes you unhappy when life itself is so short? Don't know what you think about that. Let me know. Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Got to say hello to Dane, who is a regular Bingay player. We do Bingay every Tuesday night in West 5 in Popes Lane, Ealing, between 8 p.m. and 12 midnight, if you ever want to join us. There is a website, that bingay.com, if you want to have a look. Okay, bingay.com. And for some reason I thought Dane was a hairdresser. And he says, hairdresser? He says, certainly not. I'm a dance student, Chris. He says, you crap me up with those noises. What you mean? He's like, because I do make those noises while I'm doing the Bingay as well. And people look up. I'll tell you in a minute. Dane says, I think people are a little confused when you do them, but I can't contain myself, man. Bingay on Tuesday, yes, certainly is. Yeah, there was a boy, I think I told you this on the last show. There was a boy in there, Dennis. He watches the show as well. He started watching the show as well. Bless his heart. He was down there last week, actually. I gave him a lift home because he was driving, and unfortunately he'd had too much to drink. So I said, well, jump in the car. I'll give you a lift home, because he's not actually too far from here. And I go around, I'm reading out the numbers, 5 and 9, 59. 3 and 8, 38. And he, as I'm walking around, he says, why do you do those noises? And I go, what noises? He says, those noises you do. And I'm like, what noise? The one you just did then. And I'm like, what noises? Without smiling. And he thinks, I shouldn't. Dennis actually thinks that I don't realise I'm doing the noises. But of course, don't tell anyone, right? But of course I do know. But I like people to think that. We are all mad. We're all mad, dear. All mad. Let's see. From Gloria. I think we're probably going to finish up on this email today. Gloria wrote a lovely email to be passed on to my sister, which I have now done, but I want to share it with you. She asked me, she sent this to me to pass on to Sharon. Dear Sharon, I was saddened to hear about the news of your beloved Bruno dog. I had my Jazzy cat for a short 5 years and still miss her, but as much as I hate cliches, time does help. Here is a little story my daughter sent to me. I hope you find it as comforting as I did and still do. Just this side of heaven, is a place called Rainbow Bridge. When an animal dies that has been especially close to someone here, that pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all our special friends so that they can run and play together. There is plenty of food, water and sunshine, and our friends are warm and comfortable. All the animals who had been ill and are old are restored to health and vigour. Those who were hurt or maimed are made whole again and strong again. Just as we remember them in our dreams of days and times gone by, the animals are happy and content, except for one small thing. They each miss someone very special to them who they had to be left behind. They all run and play together, but the day comes when one suddenly stops and looks into the distance. His bright eyes are intent, his eager body quivers. Suddenly he begins to run from the group, flying over the green grass, his legs carrying him faster and faster. You have been spotted, and when you and your special friend finally meet, you cling together in joyous reunion, never to be parted again. The happy kisses rain upon your face, your hand again caress the beloved head, and you look once more into the trusting eyes of your pet, so long gone from your life, but never absent from your heart. Then you cross Rainbow Bridge together. Sharon, I'm sure Bruno will be waiting for you there at Rainbow Bridge. Thank you so much for that, Gloria. And with that, I'm run out of time and I'm crying my eyes out. I'll see you on the next show. From myself, Chris Reardon, thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye now.